Hi there, TCLN fam. Thank you for stopping by today. But I want you to do me a favor. Just stop for a moment, take a breather, and then listen to me closely. And imagine that you are 37 years old. You have no medical license, you have no government experience, and you did not get a chance to complete your surgical residency. But you have, however, co authored a book with your brother known as Good Energy. And you believe that psychedelic mushrooms have helped you find love at 35 years old. Stay with me, stay with me. Ironically, you have just been nominated by Donald Trump, U.S. Surgical Surgeon of the United States of America. Now, I got a question for you. Do you believe in your hearts of heart that you deserve that position? And if so, why? I would love for you to drop it in the comments. Just give me a little bit about what you think I just said. Because whether you know it or not, that's actually true. That's actually has happened in the United States of America. Donald Trump has nominated Dr. Cassie Means, and this has sparked some bipartisan arguments across the board, politically and medically. And I just wanted to get your input on what you think about that. Now, I know that there are times when these kind of things happen. It doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't matter where you come from, what back of the woods, what neck of the woods. It doesn't matter if you have an education or experience or who you are. Sometimes by fate, you are just honored and blessed, and you're given a position that you go forth and move with, right? But the question is today, when you're dealing with such a profession, when you are dealing with lives and you're dealing with risk and you're dealing with surgery, and there's so much that you have to know, do you believe that it is okay to be nominated as one of the top positions across the United States of America when you don't necessarily have those credentials? When you don't necessarily have those credentials. Now, you may have other credentials and you may have a private practice, but of course, you have not been able to practice certain medicines or certain surgical procedures because you don't have a license. Also, transgender athlete policy disputes. California versus Nevada. There has been a big dispute going on. California has a law in place that protects the safety of transgender. And at the same time, Nevada has a law in place at the time that would conflict with that law. But I would like to know, what do you think, especially if you are an athlete and you understand the emotional, mental, and spiritual toll that you go through in the process of training, in the process of learning and growing as an athlete. Do you believe that it's actually okay to have transgender athletes on either or team? Do you believe that it's okay for a female to be on certain sports team or a male, vice versa? Which leads me to my next point. Who gets to decide what safety is in sports? Who gets to decide what is fair in sports? There's a great argument about what's fair, what's not fair when it comes to transgender, and also what is safety. And for my Educate to Elevate segment, we're going to be talking about the youth with what's called social media and also what's called the political movement that the youth is doing in the United States of America. You have two groups of people that seems to occupy what's called social media. So as you know, discussions about policy, about mental health with the youth has been going on, right? But there's another side of social media. And in social media, you have youth who are doing active and political things as far as fighting for racism, fighting for climate change, also fighting for fairness and justice in politics. So you have that one side of youth, but then you have the other side of youth that seems to be committing suicide, that seems to be going through all of these issues. Do you understand me? In dealing with social media, all of the youth that's dying on social media. And so then you have the bullying and all of these things that are going on. My question is, though, why is there always a great divide? Have you ever thought about that when it comes to the youth? We have so many resources. We have so many schools and so much education and so many people. But why has there been a constant divide between those who seem to get it and those who are seem to be gotten by it? We're going to discuss that also. Stay with me. I am IBK with the Creative Leadership Network, and I will be right back. Welcome back. So earlier I asked you guys a question, right? And that question was about, do you actually feel that when you don't have certain credentials or experience, especially on that caliber, do you feel it's right for that person to secure that type of position, to even be nominated for it? The reason why that's important, because we know that in our culture today, everybody just self-teach one another, right? Like, a lot of us have gotten on YouTube, we have gotten on these different platforms, and even on jobs, sometimes people withhold information from you. So you literally have to train yourself and educate yourself, right? So of course, I don't think she's without knowledge at all, because she has a practice. She just can't practice being a surgeon because she doesn't necessarily have a license. So that's not the point. She has some knowledge, and of course a lot of knowledge, because she did go to Stanford. She just did not finish her residency, right? And so the thing is though, do you believe that when you haven't finished and when you haven't attained a license, should you be nominated for such a position as that, especially when it comes to the United States of America and dealing with government and policy and issues? So that's an important question, right? Because some things we can go to school for, we can go to college for, and we may not finish or we may not get the degree, but we have knowledge, right? And also, there are just some things, you don't necessarily have to get a degree in because there's so much knowledge. So I just asked you that question because, again, when it comes to our government in the United States of America, that is high policy, high information. And how do you feel about a person who believes that, it's okay to take psychedelic drugs or to promote psychedelic drugs? In this culture, when we're dealing with so many youth and so many people who are dealing with all of the substances that they are doing, for as marijuana, some of the hardcore drugs that are on the market and stuff like that. So I just asked that question and posed that to you today, right? And again, another thing I would like to basically say is, there are certain people that support this particular person, which is Dr. Casey Means, and they think in their minds that she's doing a grassroots movement. She's all about healthcare and the change of healthcare and the systemic things that have been going on that we all complain about. No seed in our food, the health, and just all of these types of different things that we're dealing with, right? Some people complain about the FDA and how they handle stuff, and how they feel that the FDA don't contribute to banning some of the stuff that are in our products and stuff like that. And RFK Jr. Of course has been coming up with different kinds of information to help get us back on track of a more healthier food supply, right? And so she's on board with that, and so that's why I guess Trump has nominated her, because of her different ideas and her different way of thinking, right? And also there are people who say no, she should not be able to hold that type of high standard like that and type of position like that. She's not licensed, and she hasn't finished her residency, and there are other more qualified physicians or doctors and surgeons, and they feel that they're asking these questions like, where is our politics headed? Where is our judgment headed? That's how they feel, right? And that's how some of the people in the medical field feel. So I just wanted to touch bases on that, right? And I just wanted us to kind of think about it as ourselves, as citizens. Like, what do we feel? What do we think? You can check more into that. The article, of course, is on The Guardian. You can also check just YouTube and Google Dr. Tracy Means and the nomination she has gotten as U.S. Surgeon General. So it's thinking about it from these different levels of how we view this, because again, these policies affect us. We are the citizens. And so we have to live by these things that we vote for, that we say we stand for. And so we have to understand that it matters what we think. We just can't sit back and say, oh, they'll take care of it, or, oh, they're going to do what they want to do anyway. It does matter. It matters. Your children matter when they have to deal with these vaccines. You matter when just think about COVID, when we didn't have a choice and everybody was trying to figure out, should I take this shot or not? There were fears, there were concerns, and which are valid because nobody had ever really heard of this thing. And so those are things that come into play when you're thinking about somebody being voted in as a U.S. Surgeon General. You understand that? What are their beliefs? What are they standing on? And researching them out. Because remember, I just made an episode on Mayor Eric Adams. And of course, he was voted in by the people. And then in the end, some of the New York people just didn't believe, that he delivered. Some did, many did not, And so again, checking into the background of Dr. Casey, just to say, and doing your research, not always relying on YouTube all the time. Just taking out the time to Google, taking out the time to even use chat if you need to, and then double checking with different sources and resources. Because again, people can say things on the internet all day long, but sometimes even we get it wrong. So you need to be, a responsible citizen and make sure that you're doing your research and your fact finding, just to say, okay, is she one of these people? I see she say what she believes, which is cool. It may be what you believe, but is she actually carrying out? Is she actually going to stick to the plan? And that comes from researching a person to see what they've done over the years and what they've contributed over the years, and whatever their practices are, and how they delivered, Okay, so that's how we need to be responsible, because what happens is we keep voting people in. And then they say, okay, well, they're not doing this, and they didn't do what we say. Well, did we ever check their background to even see did they do the last thing they said? Or the last thing they said, or the last thing they said? Are we going off of emotionalism, or are we going off of becoming better and doing better and being more responsible citizens? Not being mentally lazy and taking charge and saying, okay, if I'm going to be a voter, I'm going to be a smart and intelligent voter. And sometimes, people don't want to take out the time. But again, all you have to do is just use Chat GPT. I'm giving you the shortcut. Let it flesh it out for you. It's going to give you the referrals and the stuff you need to go to, and then you go read over them. Get those particular articles and resources that are what you call professional and what you call that can help you out. You understand what I'm saying? You're not just going to different people and they're just telling you any and everything. You want the sources, you want the facts, and then you make your informed decisions. So again, guys, tell me what you think, because we are the people. We are the American citizens. Put it in the comments below. Start talking, start engaging. You never know how you're helping someone else when you're giving your insight and your input, okay? Now, I'm gonna move on. Transgender athlete policy disputes. Now, let me read this a little bit to you. The Tahoe-Truckee Unified School District in California faces challenges reconciling Nevada's ban on transgender athletes, right? With California's anti-discrimination laws, the district decision to transition California's league has sparked community debate, reflecting broader national conflicts over transgender rights in sports. Now, earlier I asked you the question, especially in particular, because when we are not athletes, we don't see it the way you see it. So if you ever played any type of sport in school, it could be high school, it could be junior high, it could be professional sports, it could be, maybe you even went pro. Maybe you'll come across this video or something, right? We don't know like what it really takes, right? We just don't. We barely get up out of our bed and go for a jog just to stay in shape. So we don't think in particularly like you do. We love to watch you. You inspire us. I mean, like, you are incredible, right? Like, you guys mentally, spiritually, emotionally are incredible. When we see people like Serena Williams, and we see people like Venus or Kobe Bryant, or when we look at ice skating, and we see people like Brian Bortano, you guys may not know who that is, especially if you're a younger generation. That's somebody I used to watch in the 80s when I was younger with my mother on television, and these people were outstanding. Debbie, she was a black figure skater. Brian Bortano, just all these different people, right? We really don't know what it takes to be them, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. So the reason why I wanted to talk about it from that level is because, let's be honest. You see it differently, right? And you understand on a spiritual mental, emotional. I want to drive that home. As a female and as a male, what it takes in these sports, right? Like, you remember that old song where it said, you don't know like I know what God has done for me? Well, we don't know like you know what sports has done for you or to you. So in saying all of that, it's understanding it from a male perspective and a female perspective, right? Because you're both male and female. Now, transgender, although you change the sex, which is fine if that's what people want, these are their decisions, right? Whether we agree with it or not, you understand what I'm saying? There's still biological makeup is a female and a male, no matter how they feel, right? So is it safe? Let's talk about safety, because again, the California law that they're talking about, the AB 1955, which is a bill or reform that's put in place that protects students from discrimination based on gender identity and expression, and it safeguards their privacy rights, right? So basically it is a particular law that's put in place in California that provides safety and protection. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because the conflict with them and Nevada is that it's a conflict. They have one law, and then Nevada originally had another law that conflicted, and their law was like, no. But both of them are kind of dealing with safety and protection, right? So when you look at safety, you also not just looking at safety from somebody harming you as a transgender, beating you and attacking you, all that kind of stuff. But I would say you also looking at it in sports. Now, we know naturally, physically, now, I don't care what nobody say, this is my little commentary now. We know that naturally and physically, men are stronger. They just are. When I say stronger, I don't mean strong as in mentally. They are physically stronger. Their biological makeup is just a tidbit different. Now, with that being said, is there some kind of strong women, who can hike up to some men? Yeah. But that's not the majority. You understand what I'm saying? So when you're looking at transgender and you're looking at a female changing herself, and then she has to go deal with males, let's think about football. Let's think about basketball and the roughness. We've watched some of these people on the court. They are rough. They'll elbow a guy and he'll bust out and he's knocked out for a moment. He got to shake himself off, or a push that's very hard, or just in general, the rigorous training that it takes. I'm not for sure, because like I said, I'm not into sports and I've never been into sports too much. I tried to run track one time, guys, and fell flat on my face. I was the last one coming in, but in my mind, I thought I was doing great. I'm not gonna even lie to you. I was the last one coming in. I was humping, honey. But you know how when you get out on the track and you get prepared and you got to shake your body and, you do all these theatricals and all that kind of stuff. But then when I was running, honey, I was the last one basically coming in. So I knew then that's not my calling. That wasn't my calling. That wasn't my calling. So sports, you have a certain type of ability, a certain type of gift, and agility. You understand what I'm saying? And you're just good at what you do. And so, but at the same time, male's training, I believe, is kind of different from female training. It's the same, but there are some aspects I know that's different. So how would they handle a transgender when it comes to that? Would a transgender feel that I'm being discriminated against? Because you're not treating me like you treat the men, vice versa with the women. I feel discriminated against, And so all of these little intricacies that would come up that could cause lawsuits and that could cause people to think a certain kind of way, or do you just say, hey, if this is what you want to do, these are the rules, you're going to have to play by them. How do you handle that when you're dealing with safety concerns, when you're dealing with these things that these things that people may have thought about or they may haven't thought about? Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, how are people going to deal with stuff like that? These are questions that are concerns, and that's why they put things on hold, to go back and to rethink and to re-question, because there are little bitty details that sometimes people skip over because they're looking at the broader view. Okay, protection, so they don't get harassed and they don't get this. But there are little bitty things that people don't think about. You understand what I'm saying? What happens if a guy elbows a female, in the chest? So even though you've removed the part of her anatomy, that's the breast, that's still breast at the end of the day. You understand? Like, that's still a woman's chest. It's the little intricacy things that you have to think about. Let's take it on the side of the men. You understand what I'm saying? So, or I'm sorry, the side of the female. So he has did transgender, and he's female now, right? According to the physical appearance, right? And he's over there with the women. So what happens on that side when certain physical aspects or certain spiritual aspects, that one has to deal with? Because we're not just physical, we're spirit, right? And they say, well, there's no how do they say it? There's no male and female in spirit. I wouldn't say that that's true, because our expression is our spirit. And as you see, I am female. Do you understand that? So I wouldn't necessarily say that that's true. I wouldn't say that you should lean on it so much that you be discriminatory or prejudiced, because there are some correlations that overlap, right? Men can get emotional, men can cry. Women can get tough, and women can stand up, especially in business, right? And she doesn't even want to be a man. But at those times when she needs to exert herself, she knows how, right? So these are the little things that I think people need to kind of go back and, just think over. Just think about it. Okay? So again, let's move on from that. And I would love for you to leave your comments below. I would love for you guys to engage and start the conversation and just really say, hey, how do we really feel about this? Like, did we really think about some details? And if you are transgender, what is your input? And you play sports, what is your input? What do you think? Like, give us insight into your feelings, your thoughts, and your emotions. Let's touch on religion a little bit. Let's touch on spirituality, because of course religion plays a role in this. There are going to be some people who say, what are you guys doing? What are you thinking of? There are going to be some people that try to respond positively so they don't offend you. And then there are going to be people who literally respond negative. They're going to be curse words. They're going to be negativity, but to put that all aside, do you understand what I'm saying? Put the negativity aside and let's look more at the positive aspect when it is stated that male and female is made. How do you look at that when you come to male and female teams? Now, from my personal perspective, I'm going to tell you the truth, how I really feel. You understand what I'm saying? When it comes to some sports, I really do believe that male and female really don't matter, because the sports are not as tough or rigorous or as, you understand what I'm saying? There are other sports, and you have to be honest, some of those sports are very, very tough. And should those sports accommodate you, if your inner agility and ability is just really not that tough like that, you may love it, you may think you want to do it, but what happens if you're on the field and it gets so rough and it knocks the daylights out of you? Should you be able to sue? Should you, be able to do these things? What happens when religion comes along and say, I told you so? You need to stay in your place. You're a female. You need to stay in your place. You're a male. And when we look at certain aspects of work, let's be honest, when we look at construction, when we look at things that you really have to do, lay in concrete all day long, let's be honest, how many females you see out there? Oh, you see some, but you don't see many. And the ones you do see, they work more in the project management side as managers, right? Because they're directing and guiding people, right? But when it comes to like all day laying the work of concrete, like, I guess it would depend on what country you in or state you in, or how desperate you are for resources and work and gain. But a lot of American women, you're just not gonna find out there like that. And when I look at things as football, it's concrete. Like, maybe I'm looking at it wrong, maybe it's entertainment, I don't know. But when I look at it, like, those big guys out there are tough. They're tough, So again, think about it from all different aspects. Now, to end this up and to wrap this up, this is my educate to elevate segment, right? Taking us from the situation to the solution. I want to talk a little bit about our youth, right? So this is concerning social media, and there's been concerns about social media. There's been talk and policy that's been going on, right?
And the concerns have basically been mental health. This is what it's all about, right? Mental health. So we've been seeing particular things that's been happening in social media, particular young people dying or bad things happening. You understand that? And they're talking about the impact that social media has on the youth, right? And they're trying to look into regulation and policy. Now I want you to stick with me because I'm gonna give you a little bit of my theory on the end. I'm gonna give you a little bit of some of my theory, some of my commentary, but right now I'm gonna stick to the facts, right? And then on the other side of that, you have what's called another youth. Some of them are the same ages, young adults, young youth, right? They're doing something totally different, y'all. They're out there doing political activism. They're out there doing educational things. They're out there inspiring people. They're out there protesting in positive ways. They being informed through politics. They're informing through politics, and they're doing standing up for social and justice, equality and all those kinds of things. So you have two different groups, right? You have one that's being affected on social media with negativity, a lot of negative music, a lot of cursing, a lot of talking about the M word, the K word, the N word, just all that stuff, right? And on the other hand, you have youth that's doing something totally different. All of your positives, right? All your check boxes. My question to you guys, and I want you to please listen to me closely. My question to you guys is, why is there always this divide? With all of the resources, everybody's watching the same platform called YouTube, called TikTok, called Instagram. So how do one group of youth end up on one side of the table and another group of youth end up on the other side of the table? Why is this group considered to be the S word? When I say S word, you know what, self-termination, right? And they're going erratic and all kind of things are happening. And the other side is chilling and having fun and doing all these positive things. How can one be looking at the same camera, phones and lenses and same things, but coming up with the different results? Why is one prone to all that negativity over there and the other is building their future over here? And how does that happen? Is it programmed from an early age? Are the parents the responsibility? Are the schools? Do you think it's, the youth and what they're choosing? You understand? Is it the algorithm and what it's feeding certain other people and certain others? What do you think? What do you think? Or is it a multiple of things? You understand what I'm saying? Now, let me give you a little bit of what I feel it is, right? So I feel that all youth come from different backgrounds. Let me speak from this perspective. You have a black family, right? Within a black family, we all know that blacks come from an array of backgrounds. You have educated blacks, you have social activist blacks, you have blacks that live in the hood, in the ghettos, in the Comptons, Watts, Dallas City, South Dallas. You have all that, right? So some of it is because where they coming from. So the person that comes from the background of the hood and all this kind of stuff, they're not really that inclined to the news and to politics, not in that kind of way. You understand what I'm saying? They may hit a little bit of it and listen to what the politicians are saying. Like, say, for instance, when you had Cardi B and you have all these people, they may listen to it from that perspective, from their influencers, but they're not as in-depth or educated as the other side is. Because they have families who are watching CNN, they have families who are sitting down and they're listening around the table. People are talking about politics, talking about all these kind of stuff, and they're getting insight. So some of that is some of it, right? Another aspect is influencers. You understand what I'm saying? It is who these young people are inspired by. So one group of people are inspired by the Steve Jobs. They inspired by the Bill Gates. They're inspired by maybe, some of your people out there, right? And then the other ones are inspired by people as Megan Thee Stallion, political things of that type of nature and encouragement, or just, the music, the this, the coming up, and so the influence, you understand what I'm saying? That's a factor. We see it all day long. And it's been before rap got to where rap got to, which is to me in a very derogatory place right now. I grew up watching MTV and BET, and some of the things were like that. Even then, there was a lot of sexual stuff going on when we were young. A lot of Madonna, a lot of Prince, and we were young. We were young, jamming to it. But then over time, things got worse and worse and worse, and the music has gotten off kilter, right? So they say that you know a culture by its music, by its entertainment, and where the pulse of it is at, right? And so when you're looking at two different people, is social media really the problem, or what they being influenced by is the problem? Do you understand what I'm saying? So is that they all got a camera phone, all of them got iPhones and Androids, so that can't be the problem, right? No, they all looking at the same phone. They all looking at the same cameras and the same this. The problem is who are they influenced by? What are they watching? You understand what I'm saying? So if you think that social media is the problem, I wouldn't say that a camera, a phone, or social media is the problem. I would say the influences that are up there is the problem. That's just my take. It may not be your take, but it's my take. That's what I would say. That is the literal problem. It just is, guys, because they all have phones. They all have a camera. Some of them even tech savvy. They good with them fingers, honey. They be gone. I be like, how do they even move those fingers that fast? They said that by the time they get in their good 20s, they gonna have cramps in their fingers, arthritis. That's what they say. For them doing the cramp out like that, right? The cramp generation. Even the babies be in strollers. I be looking at some of these babies. I say, girl, please. I said, when we grew up, we couldn't have none of that. We didn't even have all that back then. But as we couldn't even wear makeup till we were 16. Like, there was just these rules, right? Because they knew that lipstick was an influence, and you was to go get your education. You wasn't supposed to be pucking your lips, And by the time you get 16, that's your sweet 16 prom, so you can put on a little bit of dash. So they had rules back then. So if you talked on the telephone, we had those telephones back then where you had the ring around telephone. That telephone where you pick it up, the stylus telephone, and you push the hole in the finger and you ring it around. We had those, and then we grew into the dial phones, So that's what we had. And wasn't no talking to boys in your room by yourself on no phone. Be like, can we talk to such and such? Yeah, you're gonna sit right here 10 minutes. Y'all gonna hold a conversation. We're gonna listen to what you're saying. So we had to sneak and do stuff. Some of us kids, we snuck and did stuff. We'd be like, okay, they going. Ah, it's party time. Pick up the phone. Ah, we talking about all kinds of stuff we shouldn't be talking about. But anyway, that's another subject. So again, influences, guys. They all got the same technology. They all have the same social media. What are the influences up there? So I would say if you're going to regulate stuff, you need to look into regulating what is the things that, you understand what I'm saying, that are so causing them to have these mental functions, or what you call mental health, that's causing them the S word, self-termination thoughts. You know what I'm saying? What is this stuff that's depressing them? Is it because, this girl is stylish, and then when they look at another video, this girl looks poor, or she looks poor? Is that really causing it? I see that all the time. I look at people all the time, honey. Like, all the time. They look like they big banging, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't make me want to harm myself because I don't have the things that they have. I think it's more to it than that. You understand what I'm saying? I think it's, you have to really tap into what is being said on these platforms, because that's what you need to regulate. I I didn't say suppress the artists if that's what they choose to do. What I said, regulation. FCC needs to regulate. Even television. You know, they need to go back. You know how they say some things just old school. Well, everything is not old school, y'all. Some things we really do need to say, we need boundaries. We need to say, okay, this is what we will tolerate in our culture. This is what we won't tolerate in our culture or our society or our country. And some things we should not tolerate is all the spicuous, all the lasciviousness that is just upwheel at there. Now I know they have a thing where they say, are you 18 and over? You know them kids know how to click that and keep on going. I look at that sometimes. Y'all know they know how to click that. They asking you, are you 18 and over? You know, come on now. So I said all that to say is that you don't need to regulate the platform. What you need to regulate is what's coming out of the platform. I don't need to regulate the camera. I need to regulate what the input is going into the camera and then what's coming out to the people that I'm putting out to the people. So when people talk about regulation reform, I just want people to keep in mind that social media is a very, very positive thing. We have been able to express ourselves. We have been able to do the most beautiful things with social media. Talk to people, our friends at a distance. You can pick up your phone less than 2.5 seconds. You can talk to people far away. You can say, hey, look at me at Disney World. You know, it's just so much you can do. And social media is not the problem. The problem is some of the influence that is up there. And that's what needs to be regulated. And for those youth, let me say something to you. I am so proud of you that you're learning how to take your future into your hand. You understand what I'm saying? Or if you're a parent, that your child does these things. Because when we were younger, we wasn't taught how to do these things. We didn't start learning things a lot until later in life, some of us. So I am so proud of you guys. If you are taking things, especially if you're a young adult, because that's who would be watching this. I don't do these for kids. But if you're a young adult, and let's just say you're 22 or you're 18 or 19, I am proud of you for taking social media and finding your way. Whether that's creating your little businesses, whether that's saying things positive and being inspiring to other youth, whether that's thinking about politics in such a way where you're educating yourself and you're using AI, I'm proud of you. My only thing is I would say to you as a parent, or if you're that youth or whatever, please do it for others. Please teach others how to do it. You know how they say each one teach one? Because some of the youth just don't know. All they know is what they know, y'all. I'm being honest with you. Some of them just, I remember coming from a background where I didn't know. I saw my grandmother doing entrepreneurship because she had her own business out of her own house. And she sewed and she did all kinds of stuff, upholstery, curtains, fabric. She did weddings, gowns, all of that. This woman was talented. But for some reason, she never sat down and taught us entrepreneurship. I don't know if she didn't know how or she just didn't choose how. I don't know. But I didn't grow up with an entrepreneurship mentality. I just didn't. I didn't. So I didn't learn that stuff till in my 30s and going into 40s. So sometimes these young people on social media just don't know. So if you're a content creator or whoever you are, please, when you're talking up there, you don't know who will come across your video. You don't know who will see something. You understand what I'm saying? And I would just say, please take out the time to just a few seconds to say, hey, if you're young, just a message for them. It may not be your channel, so you may have to do it differently sometimes, and that's okay. But what I am saying is that in this type of message, sometimes those youth over there, they just don't know. So all they know is all the negativity they listening to. It's not that they're bad, it's what they're prone to. Just like when you're prone to everything you're prone to. So if you would just take out the time and say, hey, let me go over there and inspire them and show them that there's a different world. Y'all remember that show when we came up? It's a different world from where you come from. Y'all remember that? I used to watch that when I was a kid in the 80s. And I would look at these people on television. And that really was a different world from where I came from. Because I was in South Dallas Projects watching that. And they was at these big colleges and big institutions. So sometimes people just need exposure. You understand? So I hope that this episode has blessed you somehow. I hope it has helped you to expand your thinking a little bit more on these different type of topics. And because we all come with a different expression and we say things differently, right? We don't say them the same, right? And we learn from each other. But all that being said, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, okay? And don't forget to support financially. TCLN is growing, it's reshaping, it's getting its footing. And don't forget to support financially, you know, whatever you can contribute to. All of everything you need is in the description below. And check out the other videos that complement these videos. And if this has blessed you, share it with someone else today, okay? Bye.